How you get, everybody? This is the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. The offseason is getting exciting. Cubs with a shocking move yesterday, changing managers. We're going to talk about this upgrade. Of course, players are the ones making plays, and there's movement on that front, too. A couple roster spots have opened up the last couple days. We'll set things up for what other moves to expect. Take a look around the league as well. I stopped what I was doing. I let out an audible gasp when news broke yesterday afternoon. Craig Counsell is the new manager of the Chicago Cubs. He'll be around the next 5 years, a $40 million deal, easily the biggest managerial deal across Major League Baseball. Now, it looked, even during the season, it looked like Counsell was in his final days in Milwaukee. A lot of attention more recently had him tied with the Mets, but the Cubs pounced. Brewers won 90 games in 2023 with a lineup that was rather unimpressive. Certainly less talent than what the Cubs had. Small market team with a small budget, and Craig Counsell found a way to win pretty much every year. He joined the Brewers in 2015. The Brewers had placed first or second in the National League Central every year since 2017, with the exception of that short and wild 2020 season. So with the Cubs, Counsell's going to have access to owners with much deeper pockets and a farm system packed with talent. This should be very exciting. The feeling I had when I read the news of Craig Counsell's arrival was similar to that of the Cubs landing Joe Maddon, and I know there are others making the same parallel. Going back to October 2014, Cubs had young pieces in place. Rick Renteria had just wrapped up his first and only year of managing the Cubs. There was a general feeling the Cubs were trending up. How high could they get? And then Joe Maddon became available, being let go from Tampa. The Cubs scooped him up. Renteria got the short end of the stick. And Maddon becoming available, being added to the Cubs, it was like adding gasoline to the Cubs' fire. They racked up 97 wins in 2015 before winning the World Series the following year. The signing of Craig Counsell here is very similar for the Cubs. He's one of the best managers around, top 5 for sure. Easily see the Cubs winning more than 90 games this year. This is a good move. So what about David Ross? Well, The Athletic reports Jed Hoyer met with Counsell November 1st, right after the contract officially expired in Milwaukee. Two had great chemistry. Deal quickly came together, in place by Sunday afternoon. Hoyer then had to go to Florida to break the news to David Ross, and the rest of us found out yesterday, Monday afternoon. Now, I've never been high on David Ross as the manager of the Cubs. 4 years in that role, I'd say at least 2 years too many. Yes, I like Joe Maddon. I understand why they made the change after 2019. They view David Ross as a guy who could keep the players engaged. He was part of that 2016 team. The core was still largely in place all the way through July of 2021. High hopes. Cubs won the division that first year with David Ross. Again, that short 60-game season. And then in 21, things unraveled very quickly. There was the no-hitter in Los Angeles, I think June 24, 25, something like that. And then an 11-game losing streak. How do you lose 11 games in a row with Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, all on the same roster? It just doesn't make sense. So after the big sell-off at the end of July, it looked like the Iowa Cubs were playing the last 2 months of 2021. 2022 roster, not much better. 23, though, had big additions with Bellinger and Swanson, and yet the team was still 10 games under 500 in early June. It looked like another big sell-off was coming. Thankfully, they avoided it. They got hot. It was very fun to watch, especially All-Star break to early September, but despite having a 92% chance of making the postseason in early September, they still missed playing in October. Poor in-game decision-making, relying on a couple relievers, overworking them until they got injured. It was just a perfect storm that led to a very bad September for the Chicago Cubs. As was proven with the 22 Phillies, and again this year with both World Series teams, I'll repeat what I've said before. You just have to make it into October. Anything can happen. As long as you make it into the postseason, you've got a shot at the World Series. And in the National League, the 23 Cubs were not as good as the Braves or Dodgers, but the format of the postseason makes it wide open, and the Cubs did not make it. Baseball is a consistency game, habits, routine, day in, day out. And when you have teams winning 100 games and then very quickly lose their first series after having a week off, I think it shows that the system is broken. But the Cubs could have taken advantage of that by just sneaking in with one of those wild card spots. So Craig Counsell is the guy in the clubhouse. Let's talk about who's on the field. Corner outfielders and middle infielders are locked up for the foreseeable future. Talking about Happ and Suzuki, Swanson, Horner. Center field is wide open. Yes, Cody Bellinger is a free agent. Cubs have made him a qualifying offer. That's a formality. He's going to, turn that down if not already. All that means really is that the Cubs will get a compensatory draft pick if Bellinger signs elsewhere. I love him in center, would rather him be slotted in at first base. Pete Crow Armstrong, he's going to be a great player someday, probably in center field, but he was not ready to face Major League pitching during his September call-up. I'd be okay with Nick Madrigal at third base next year. His first year transitioning to third, he looked great defensively when he was healthy. First base was a huge Achilles heel for the Cubs. Outside of Bellinger, they tried a lot of guys at first base. No one performed. It was not good in any capacity. Yan Gomes, great behind the plate the last couple of years, but I'm ready to see Miguel Amaya take over kind of as the lead catcher moving forward. Cubs still don't know how or where to play Christopher Morel. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe they ship him out. Is he a trade piece? I'm not sure. Is it an organizational or a managerial issue that they haven't been able to figure out what to do with him? With Ross gone, we'll find out soon enough. Cubs need pitching. Every team does. Over the weekend, first major Cubs surprise of the offseason dropped with news that Marcus Stroman was opting out of the third and final year of his contract. He's passing on $21 million from the Cubs to see what else is out there. So certainly the Cubs' priority list for the offseason has to be reshuffled. Another good, high rotation starter has to be in there. Justin Steele is the ace, or at least he was in 2023. But you got to have a really solid number 2 or even a really good number 3 option. I don't think the Cubs have it right now. They've got a bunch of mid-level arms, a bunch of unproven guys, inconsistent guys. Like 8 guys you could slot into the rest of the rotation. But if none of them are consistently good, it doesn't matter. This isn't a quantity game. Hayden Wesneski, Javier Assad, Drew Smyly, Jamison Tyone, Jordan Wicks, they all come to mind as guys who could be the rotation. They could be in the bullpen. You don't know. And, of course, you can never have too many bullpen arms either. So, of course, the World Series trophy is the hardware you want to receive in late October or early November. Didn't happen for the Cubs. They still got some honors for the 2023 season. In fact, the first time ever that the Cubs have had 3 players receive the Gold Glove award in one season. Swanson, Horner, and Happ. And Cody Bellinger also named the National League Comeback Player of the Year. This and that, a look at news and notes from around the league. Dusty Baker stepping down as manager of the Astros shortly after they were beat by the Rangers in the ALCS. Astros, Angels, Brewers, and Padres are all looking for managers as of today, November 7. Joey Votto's time with the Reds has come to an end. He's among the cuts announced the last couple of days. Also notable to see Tim Anderson not returning to the White Sox. General manager meetings are taking place this week. Don't know if we'll see many trades or signings come from that. The winter meetings in a few weeks usually generate a lot more activity. Award season is next week. In order from Monday to Thursday, we'll see awards handed out daily, including Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, Cy Young, and MVP. Craig Counsell up for Manager of the Year. Justin Steele was in contention for NL Cy Young. I don't think he was going to win, but he would have been top 3, in my opinion, until those last 3 starts when he got roughed up. Just nothing was going right for the Cubs by the end of September. So new manager is lined up. We'll see who else is added in the offseason. How crazy of a roster shakeup do we see? I don't think the Cubs are going to be in contention for every big free agent, but I think they're going to chase a couple. I think they'll land 1 or 2, and they'll certainly make some other mid-level additions, maybe a trade or 2 as well, to really go all in with a new manager and build on the momentum from this past year. Follow us on X and subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, among others, so you never miss an episode. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. It is the Bricks and Bleachers Podcast.